Good morning, friends, and welcome everyone to Temple Buddhist Center Sunday Meditation Service. My name is Victor, and I'm honored to be of service this morning. We also want to welcome all of our friends and Sangha members joining us from afar. I call that the PJ Sangha because they're all at home in their PJs enjoying the service. So welcome to everybody. We hope that our service this morning finds each and every one of you happy and healthy, but please know that if you are struggling in any way, we hope that Temple Buddhist Center can be a source of refuge for you as we open our hearts to you and to your loved ones. Let's begin this morning with some conscious breathing. A conscious breath is where you seal the mouth, breathe deeply through the nose, hold that breath and experience the fullness of the lungs, and then release slowly so that the exhale is longer than the inhale. Let's begin. Holding that breath for a moment and releasing slowly. And as you release, checking in with the body, noticing how it relaxes with each out-breath. A little bit more, relax a little bit more, becoming more gentle, more spacious, more light. And a second conscious breath together. And releasing. And as you release, the shoulders drop, the belly softens, the facial muscles release. And we give ourselves full and complete permission to release or let go of that connection to the energy of going and doing, striving, efforting, accomplishing, as together we cultivate the energy of being. And a third conscious breath together. Releasing. And as you release, allowing into your awareness the present moment. There is only this. And so, here at Temple Buddhist Center, we like to begin our services with a little bit of chanting. Chanting is an integral part of every tradition. Chanting is not about being a singer. It's about having a voice. It is about a deeply devotional expression of what is sacred within you and sharing that with the world. It's also an opportunity to combine and join not only our energies in sacred Sangha, but also our voices. And our chant this morning is Om Ami Dewa Ze, Om Ami Dewa Ze. And in the Buddhist tradition, Om Ami Dewa Ze is a chant that enhances compassion for all beings, including ourselves. Compassion for those struggles and challenges and difficulties that we encounter along the path. And you might recognize, as many of you work or practice within the yogic traditions, yoga and the different practices like that, you might recognize the seed sound, Om. Om is practiced in a lot of yoga studios, and Om in Sanskrit is the sound of the universe, reminding each one of us that we are a beautiful note in a grand cosmic symphony that is forever playing. And so I will invite Rochelle to tone us in as we take a conscious breath together. Let's begin. Om Ami Dewa Ze, Mami Dewa Ze. Om 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 Mami Dewa Ze. With a smile. Om Mami Dewa Ze. Om Mami Dewa Ze. Once more. Om Mami Dewa Ze. And so I wanted to take a moment before I go into our definition of our community and what we do to simply thank all the folks that were involved with, supported, attended, volunteered for our Temple Buddhist Center quarterly day-long retreat yesterday. We had 22 yogis, and we were in silent meditation from 9 a.m. until 4:30, including a silent meal, some walking meditation, and it was truly a very powerful experience. And so I want to remind everybody that each quarter, Temple Buddhist Center tries to provide an opportunity to deepen your practice by spending time with sacred Sangha, an extended amount of time. And so it really was some very powerful sharing. So again, thank you to everybody. And also, again, welcome to everybody to Temple Buddhist Center. Here at TBC, we practice Western Buddhism. Western Buddhism is a blend of Eastern philosophy and Western psychology. And this new and exciting form of spirituality is dynamic, it is inclusive, it is active, and it focuses on core Buddhist insights, as well as mindfulness, meditation, and their practical application in our daily lives. Our goal here is not to get everyone to agree on a specific lineage or philosophy or sect of Buddhism, but rather it is on a shared experience of mindfulness, oneness, and love. Whether we are chanting together, sharing from the heart, or spending time in noble silence, we respect that you will participate at a level that is comfortable for you. We take refuge in the three jewels and acknowledge these core values as expressions of the awakened mind, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We value awareness of our Buddha nature, as well as the Buddha nature of all beings, bringing a fresh and a new perspective to each and every encounter. And the second jewel, the Dharma, the truth teachings that release us from fear and from delusion and help us to realize the true nature of who we are. And finally, Sangha, our spiritual community, where we come together as an essential part of growth to help each other along every step of the path and to support each other as we grow together in the teachings. So let's take a moment now to remember to silence any cell phones or electronic devices as we prepare for a time in meditation. And we're going to begin the contemplative portion of our time together with the prayer of refuge, which we will recite 3 times together. Let's begin. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. And so as we prepare now for a time in meditation, if you have an extensive practice, then we invite you to practice in a way that is fitting for you this morning. If perhaps you are newer to meditation, we're going to begin with a dedication of intention. We will awaken the bell 3 times for the 3 jewels of the Buddhist practice. And then there will be a short guided meditation by our teacher today, Mr. Robert Brumet. And we will spend approximately 10 to 12 minutes in noble silence, connecting with each other in consciousness. Afterwards, Robert will lovingly and gently bring us out of meditation. We will sound the return bell, and then it will be time for today's Dharma talk, or teaching. So let's take a conscious breath together. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness, I send my heart along with the sound of the bell. May the hearers awaken from forgetfulness, transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow, and realize the true nature of who they are.
As we listen to the sound of the bell fading into the silence, we bring our attention gently to the breath, becoming aware of each in-breath, each out-breath, the pause between in and out, between out and in. Noticing the movement of the breath. Noticing the air moving in and out. Noticing the sensations that we feel as we breathe. Rising and falling. Up and down. In and out. Noticing the constant movement of this experience of breathing. Noticing the breath, if you can, at the belly, the diaphragm, the rib cage, the chest, the sternum, the throat, the sinuses, the nostrils. Feeling the breath moving through the body. I invite you to become aware of other sensations in your body as you sit. Just noticing what you feel. Pleasant or unpleasant. Warm or cool. Tight, relaxed. Whatever it is, just notice the feeling quality. And notice the changing quality of each sensation. How each one rises and falls. Noticing the stream of sensations that come into your awareness. Becoming aware of thoughts in the mind. Noticing how they come and go. Thoughts arise and they disappear. Being fully present in this moment, being fully present to each experience in the body and in the mind, and being present to the changing quality of each experience as it rises and falls. how each one is born and dies, coming into and coming out of the silence. And so we rest in this awareness. We rest in this flow. We rest in this silence. At this time, I invite you to become aware of hearing, noticing once again how sounds rise and fall, how the experience of hearing is one of constant change. Each sound comes and goes. Feeling also the body as it sits in the chair, noticing once again thoughts in the mind, noticing whatever emotions you may be feeling, whatever desires, becoming fully aware of each element of your experience as a human being. And finally, in a moment, we'll hear the sound of the bell. And as you do, I invite you to gently open your eyes and to experience seeing. And notice that seeing consists of a constant flow of shapes, images, colors. Here's the bell. Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's a delight to be here with you today. In this moment that's never existed before, and at the same time always exists. That's a great paradox. So I'm here to talk about impermanence and the fact that impermanence is here to stay. In other words, impermanence is not impermanent. So I'm here to expose this hypocrisy. I was thinking about calling Rachel Maddow and telling her that I've discovered something newsworthy here. The Buddha talked about three characteristics of conditioned existence. One was dukkha, or the fact that nothing in the experience of time and space can permanently, totally satisfy us. Talked about anatta, or not self, meaning that if you explore the nature of the self, you'll discover that ultimately there is no separate self. And the third one he talked about is impermanence. And that's what we want to explore, unpack this morning. Since it's here to stay, we might as well learn to live with it and learn a little bit about it, because it's a very deep and important principle, and it's extremely helpful to have an understanding of it. Experience is the nature of the conditioned world. The conditioned world you can think of as the world of time and space. The conditioned world means that everything in it exists depending upon conditions. You know, our bodies depend upon conditions, and this building depends upon conditions, and so on and so forth. So certain things have to happen for other things to happen, for other things to happen, for other things to happen. and it's all interrelated, one dependent upon the other. So if you ask most people what or how they understand impermanence, they will tell you probably that it means that everything changes. Impermanence means that everything is not static, it's constantly changing. But really, it goes much deeper than that. Not only is everything changing, there is nothing there to change. That the universe consists of change itself. Now, this is something that quantum science is beginning to discover, recent decades. And it's fascinating that the Buddha and others discovered it 2 millennia ago. The universe is made out of change. We could say the universe is not a noun, and when I talk about the universe, I'm talking about the physical, the mental, emotional, all of the universes that we live in, not just the physical one. I think a better word would be omniverse. I like that. But the universe itself is made of change, which means that the universe is a verb rather than a noun. The universe is like a song or like music, which is made of change itself. A few decades ago, the eminent theoretical physicist Sir James Jeans made an interesting comment to his colleagues. He says, the universe looks more and more like a great thought rather than a great machine. You know, the Newtonian universe, the universe most of us were presented in our elementary school and high school, the universe is a big machine. You know, the old paradigm was that God wound up the clock and the clock has been ticking ever since. But that particular framework, it doesn't seem to be very accurate. It's more like God started singing a song, and she's still singing it, and the beat goes on and on and on. Some theologians have described the universe, including ourselves, as a thought in the mind of God. That's a metaphor, but I think it's perhaps helpful to think of ourselves as a thought. It's an interesting thought, right? But because of our human anatomy, because of our human conditioning, the eye, the brain, does not see music or thoughts. The eye, brain sees things. And we're conditioned to see things and relationships between things. So we walk into a room and we see people. We see how far apart the people are. Or we see chairs, or we see whatever it is we're looking for or looking at. And we notice objects and the relationship between objects. That's the way we're conditioned to view things. Things, if they are things. But what if they weren't really things? What if it just appears that way? What if each of these things were a note in a symphony or a harmony? Wouldn't that be interesting? What note would you be? because we see things as things, impermanence appears to us as kind of a birth and a death process. So things seem to go away, and things seem to show up. So we see things being created, born, things dying, falling apart. That's the way we see things. That's the way we see impermanence. And a friend of mine that was an elementary school teacher many years ago shared with me a letter that she asked the kids to write a letter to God, kind of a therapeutic thing. And it's also interesting to read some of the letters. I think these were like kindergartners or first graders. And one of the letters was from a very wise young man who said, "Dear God, why do you keep taking people away and then making new ones? Why don't you just keep the ones you got?" I thought, well, that's a pretty good idea, right? But it doesn't seem to work that way. The ones that are here disappear, and the ones that aren't here appear. So it would seem. You see? So to really understand impermanence, it's important to see both sides of the equation, as you were. That we think of impermanence as leaving, dying, falling apart, disappearing. That's only half of it. Impermanence also means arising, being born, birthing, being created. So just as things disappear into nothingness, so it would seem that out of nothingness, things appear. And that's true not only in the realm of physical objects, but also in the realm of ideas, emotions. And all we need to do is sit for a while and just notice the sensations in the body, notice the thoughts in the mind, notice sound, notice hearing. Just notice hearing is one we can do all the time, pretty much. Even if just for a moment you notice rising and falling, rising and falling. Impermanence includes the rising, it includes the falling. There's a scientist by the name of David Bohm. Anybody here familiar with David Bohm, his work? Great. And he was a genius that wrote a book called Wholeness and the Implicate Order. That was the book I read. He wrote many other books as well. And from the back cover of the book, it says, David Bohm introduces the implicate order in which any element in the universe contains enfolded within itself the totality of the universe. Every element in the universe contains the totality of every other element. The central theme is the unbroken wholeness of the totality of existence as an undivided flowing movement without barriers. So the universe is always being born and always dying, always flowing between visible and invisible, between rising and falling. And he developed a wonderful illustration. It's really very neat to see this in video. You can see it on YouTube, where he devised, David Bohm did, an experiment where he had a vial of glycerin, which is clear, and in it he poured some ink. And the ink just floats on top of the glycerin because it's lighter. And then a little stir, mechanical stir, stirred the glycerin and the ink disappeared into the glycerin. as it went around, it was absorbed by the glycerin. You know, I've seen that before. You know, you stir things into one thing and it disappears into the other. But the interesting thing is, then he reversed the process. And suddenly, out of this clear glycerin, vial of glycerin, the ink reappears. Where did it go? Where did it come from? And that's a kind of a metaphor for demonstrating how in the nothingness is substance, and in the substance is nothingness. One is explicit, which means we can see it, measure it, so forth. The other is implicate. It's here, but we cannot see it. So it's kind of like the flower and the seed. We can see the flower, but we can't see the flower in the seed, and yet it's there in an implicate sense. And then in the explicit sense, it's in the flower itself, the blossoming of the flower. And in the what's often called the yin-yang symbol, which I think you can see on the screen, if you look at each half, the yin or the yang, the way it's set up is there's a black dot within the white and a white dot within the black, meaning that within the one, the seed of the other is contained. Within death, the seed of life is contained. Within day, the seed of night is contained. And within day, the vice versa, you see. So the seed of the opposite, the unseen seed of the opposite, is always contained within the wholeness. But typically we are aware of only one half of that wholeness. We are only aware of the visible half, the tangible half. See, we're aware of the thought that rises, but we don't know where it came from or where it goes. You see. Did it come out of nowhere? Sort of. It was there all along, but it was there all along in an unseen form. Okay. So what I'd like to do is, in closing, to give you some interesting practice. I call them interesting because I think they're fun and I've played with them for a while. And that is to make a list of what you see as emerging or being born in your life experience. In other words, what's new, what's arising, what, if you look at your garden, what's beginning to sprout, if you will. And also, as you look at your garden, what's beginning to wilt and die. We look at relationships, maybe being born or dying. Ideas, being born and dying. Self-image, being born and dying. You know, you're not the same self. The image you have of yourself is not the same as it was 20 years ago. That old image died and a new one was born. So just noticing everything in your life, particularly desires and interests. Maybe things that we used to be interested in and identified with seem to be losing some of their juice, some of their energy. Maybe there's other things that we haven't yet explored, but suddenly we're beginning to find that we're interested in those things. So just making a list of each one, and then take each one and really go into the energy of it. So if it's being born, let it be born. Ride that energy of rising. And if it's dying, ride the energy of it dying. I call this surfing with impermanence. It's like when a surfer will go back and just wait for the right wave to come in and then get on the board. And every wave rises and falls, right? Every wave, no matter how big or how small, has a life cycle. It comes out of nowhere. It gets very big, perhaps, and eventually it will die. Surfing the impermanence. Riding the waves rather than fighting them. If you've ever been to the beach somewhere where, like as in Hawaii or some places where there's big waves, big surf, you stand there trying to hold it back. It doesn't work very well. It can throw you a long ways, believe me. And yet, on the other hand, if we're on the surfboard, we can have a lot of fun riding that. You can make a great distance, you see. So, looking at our life and surfing it and really connecting with the energy of both and recognizing if we're grasping one or resisting one. Am I resisting the dying, or am I grasping what's dying and trying to hold on to it? Or what's arising, am I not happy with what's arising? Am I resisting it? Just notice how we are responding to these energies of our life. So I'll close with this quote from Werner Erhard in Creator Vest program I took many years ago. He said, it's best to ride the horse. It's best to ride the horse in the direction that it's moving. Okay? So ride the energy of your life in the direction that it's moving. And life will take on a very different experience as you do that. So thank you for sharing the Dharma with us, and let us just take a moment and dedicate our practice and our Dharma talk to the welfare of all beings everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. So let's just take a moment to embody the teachings, dropping out of our head and into our hearts, and just feeling, sensing the truth teachings. And so as we move now and transition to a different portion of our service, it's not uncommon to want to maybe wiggle or stretch or readjust the posture or take a conscious breath as we move into metta practice or loving kindness practice. And so with this, it is not an intellectual activity. It is not a conceptual activity. It is simply an opening of the heart and sharing what is sacred within us and with the world. And so we'll begin with a conscious breath. And as you release, some people like to place a hand on their heart or create the Anjali Mudra as a heart focusing of the heart energy. Or if you just have your hands in your lap, sometimes opening palms upward in sort of a releasing into the universe kind of a position. We begin by bringing into our mind's eye the image of you, a full body image of the form that has been given your name and that has accrued the many experiences over the years. And holding this image in your mind's eye, recite silently to yourself these words of metta practice. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe from inner and outer dangers. May I be well in body and mind. And may I be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of a friend of yours. Holding this image in your mind's eye, let us open our hearts as we send metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of an acquaintance, someone you have met recently, a new person in a class or at your job, or a clerk or a cashier. And holding this image in your mind's eye, let us send to them metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of a difficult person in your life, a challenging person. Could be a boss, a coworker, a neighbor, a classmate, or even a political figure. And holding this image in your mind's eye, let us open our hearts as we send metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of the world, all the plants and the flowers and the trees, animals of the land, the sea, the sky, and all beings in all places. Holding this image in your mind's eye, let us open our hearts as we send metta to us all. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be safe from inner and outer dangers. May we be well in body and mind. And may we be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And in the true spirit of Dana, the Buddhist practice of generosity, temple services here are given freely. In the same way, if you choose to give, Please give with a generous heart, which means not in return for anything that you have received today, but rather so that those who may be seeking refuge will find it here in this temple with these teachings, with these teachers, and with this Sangha. And we take a moment of gratitude for all of our wonderful volunteers. Especially thank you so much to Liz and Kristen and everybody that helped with the retreat. Thank you so much to Matt and Karen for everything they do, including keeping the Buddha and the Bean program going, and so many others, and greeting folks as they come. Thank you, Dave, so much for everything you do. He helps me every morning to set up the service and then to take it down, and at this point, I'd be lost without him. There are so many volunteers. Eric, who makes sure that this Sangha is spread to the four winds. And thank you, of course. I mean, there's so many. I can't name everybody, but thank you all. Know that I hold you in my heart for everything that you do. Thank you to our ambassadors for their electronic giving. It helps us to set a budget here at Temple Buddhist Center. And so if you'd like to become an ambassador, just stop by our website and you can click on the Love Offering button. If you'd like to give, the Dana boxes are located at the back of the meditation hall. And thank you so much, Ricky, for your beautiful music and everything that you do to support us in this community. And thank you, Mr. Robert Brumet, for your time, your treasures, your knowledge of the Dharma, and your generous heart. Everything that he does for Temple Buddhist Center, he refuses any kind of compensation. So it is truly, we are truly blessed in everything that he gives and offers to us here. And of course, thank you to each and every one of you for sharing your time, your talent, your treasures, and your presence with all of us here at Temple Buddhist Center. We are certainly the better for it. And so as we prepare now for the Bodhicitta dedication, we will recite this out loud together. Together? May the pure, brilliant sun of Bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably, until all are illumined and awakened. And with the palms of our hands together in front of our hearts, as we go forth now from this place, may we enter each moment in innocence, guided by the wisdom of our hearts. And as we open our hands, open our eyes, shine our light into the world. Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today. Just a couple of quick announcements. Our Basics of Buddhism class is kicking off next week. So I really want to encourage everyone that's interested in learning more about Buddhism, how its origins, how it has spread throughout the world, the types of Buddhism, the lineages that Temple Buddhist Center shares, all the different things. Like, for example, Robert's talk today was on the 3 marks of existence. That is something that you will learn more about within the Basics of Buddhism class. It kicks off September 1st, and you can get registered either on our Facebook page or also at our website, templebuddhistcenter.com. The best way is when you go to the website is just click on the calendar, and if you go to September 1st, you'll find the class, or if you just type in Basics in the search bar, it will come up. And thank you so much to Carrie and Crumble Cookies for supplying the delicious cookies that we have with our coffee and water and tea downstairs. If you're interested in fellowship, you have many options. You can go downstairs for coffee and cookies, or you could also, as you exit the meditation hall, go to your left for the post-service discussion group. That is always a lively group. That is a safe environment in which to share about the teachings from the day, the Dharma talk, and how it applies to our life. And finally, I'll just leave this screen up, which talks about all the different things coming up. Tai Chi Cha is coming again here on the 23rd, starting Tuesday evenings. It is a wonderful complement to your formal sitting practice to have a movement meditation practice. So she'll begin teaching the 19 movements. There's only 19 of them in one pose. And so those will start up as well pretty soon. And yeah, Meditation 101 on second Sundays. And then, of course, every Tuesday and Thursday at noon. Please come join us on Facebook Live as we do a 30-minute meditation. Let's see, I think that's everything. Our lending library is burgeoning. So I just like to say that word. I only get to say that once a week on Sundays, burgeoning. So I hope, yes, it's merging and burgeoning and blending with the universe. So please stop by and see if there's a book that will take you and check you out and take you home. Again, thank you, everyone. As you go into your day, I wish you peace and blessings.